Good evening, BookTube. Welcome back to the History Shelf. Hey, did you have a great Memorial Day weekend? Huh? Anyone out there? I sure did. I'm a day late wearing my Support Those Who Serve hoodie, but spent a nice long weekend. I did some work, did some writing, did a lot of reading, and it rained here. We had a rainy Memorial Day weekend here in Colorado, which is really unusual. Thunderstorms, and even today it's threatening and spitting rain now and then, and some thunder off in the distance, and boy, do I love that. It really gets me in the mood to read and to talk about books. So today's video, finally catching up on my stack of new history and books that you need to be aware of that are on their way, that'll be coming out this summer. And I'll be having a separate video kind of just showing you. I've got a lot of finished copies of things that you've seen before, but I'm gonna show them anyway. I want to get them back on your radar, and a few of them you haven't seen, but I got finished copies of, so I'm really tickled. And here goes the wind. Wonder if we're gonna get a little storm. But yeah, we've got more history coming in. I've got stuff for this month, May. We've got some books for June, July. I'm trying to keep this stack here focused on May through July. I do have some stuff coming up in August that I have advanced reader copies on, but I think I'm going to save those for another video. But I am finally making my way through the piles of mail in my parlor, which I'll be able to show you guys soon. Yes, finally getting the parlor together. I'm going to be looking for a nice, comfortable chair for that room. But I have a GoPro camera now that Martine got me for Christmas. Check this little handy-dandy guy out. Woo! It really gives like a fisheye view. So I tried using it in this room, but then you got this. Hi, Goldie. You can see her in the corner there. It kind of just showed everything, and I've still got some sorting to do in this corner. So I was like, no, we're not doing that. But the parlor, we're going to be doing some GoProing, and you can see I'll be doing some book hauls in there. And I can show you the amount of mail that I get on some days. So stay tuned for that. There's fun things coming to the History Shelf. All right, so let's just start off with, let me show you some of the books. Hi, Goldie. She's like, I'm ready to leave now. I got a couple of new ones that I'm really excited about. They're already out, but let me just show you them right now. Okay, I gotta let Goldie out. 1 second. Okay, we are back. I wanted to get this book because I'm hoping this summer or early fall I want to do a little in-depth study of sorts on a writer that I've been meaning to read more of, or even just, have I read anything? I don't think I've read anything by him. I read about him, but I haven't read his works. But there is a new book out right now from a publisher in the UK. They were kind enough to send me this. This is In the Future of Yesterday, A Life of Stefan Zweig by Rudiger Gorner. Look at this. And the publisher is, I can't tell exactly from the logo, House, H-A-U-S Publishing, House Publishing. It's in London. Because I wanted a biography. I was going in search of like old biographies, and this one came up, and I was like, oh, it's new. So I really wanted to read this in conjunction with reading some of Stefan Zweig's most, iconic work. I think I have something in my, I have one book I haven't purchased yet, but it is the, it's his most famous, one of his most famous ones. It's called The World of Yesterday. Yes, I really want to read that. So anyway, House Publishing, we've got a brand new biography, In the Future of Yesterday. So let me read a little bit to you from the dust jacket cover here. In the Future of Yesterday offers a refreshing approach to the life and work of Austrian writer Stefan Zweig. delving into his considerable contribution to world literature, rooted in the Austro-Jewish tradition. A world traveler from the outset, Zweig liked to uproot himself. But whether he stayed in London, New York, or eventually Brazil, his literary baggage continued to contain the flair of I always stumble on this word, Findesicle, Vienna. All right. Looking anew at Zweig's influential time in England and offering fresh insights into his final years in the United States and Brazil, Gerner discusses Zweig's prolific literary output in relation to his life and treats his political views on Europe, Zionism, and the world order with great depth and scrutiny. Most importantly in this book shows Zweig as a towering figure of a form of writing that was bursting with life and was written in the knowledge that there can only be a future if we remain conscious of the past. Amen to that. There can only be a future if we remain conscious of the past. So I am really excited for this. I've looked at the bibliography and I see places I want to go with this. So if anyone out there is a Stefan Zweig fan, Zweig, I feel like I need to put a V in this W, but probably not. Stefan Zweig, you need to be aware of this book. So this is out, I believe, right now from House Publishing. So thank you to the good people at House Publishing for that. Also, want to thank the people at Chicago University Press because I am excited to, I'm hoping to get into it this summer. I haven't read this book in a while. I have 2 editions. Up behind my cross there, I have do I have all 3? I've got the Aeneid, the Iliad, and the Odyssey. And I've read all. I don't think I've ever read the Aeneid, actually. That's one I need to work on. But of course, I've read the Iliad and the Odyssey many times. But this is a translation I have not read, and it's brand new, and I'm very excited to test this out. This is the Odyssey by Homer, translated and with an introduction and notes by Daniel Mendelsohn. Let's see. Let's just read a little bit about this translation. And it's a beautiful, beautiful book with the end papers, with the maps. Oh, it's gorgeous. Let's see here. Just show you nice wide pages of the poetry here. With this edition of Homer's Odyssey, the celebrated author, critic, and classicist Daniel Mendelsohn brings the great epic to vividly poetic new life. Widely known for his essays on classical literature and culture in The New Yorker, which I have a subscription to, and I've been enjoying it. I used to subscribe to it very faithfully ages ago, probably 20 years ago. I was in the Air Force and I was getting that stuff sent to my inbox. I was a nerdy little airman, senior airman. Well, all my friends were out partying. Well, I did party. But I was also a little intellectual nerd, and I was, even at that young, tender age of 20-something, early 20s, I was reading these things. Let's see here. So he wrote for The New Yorker. Mendelsohn gives us a line-for-line rendering of the Odyssey that is both engrossing as poetry and true to its source, rejecting the streamlining and modernizing approach of many recent translations. He artfully reproduces the epic's formal qualities, meter. Oh, and here's a word I've never heard of, enjambment. Alliteration, assonance, and in so doing restores to Homer's masterwork its archaic grandeur. Sweet. Mendelssohn's expansive 6-beat line, far closer to the original than that of other recent translations, allows him to capture each of Homer's dense verses without sacrificing the amplitude and shadings of the original. Ooh, yes. So, I can't wait to get into this. And there's a really nice, long, meaty introduction. A note on the translation that is a very long essay. Pronunciation guide. I love it. Oh, and of course, you've got to have further reading. And that's in the beginning of the book. And then you get into the actual book, the poem itself, on page like 70. So, yeah, of course I've got to read the first line. Tell me the tale of a man, muse, who had so many roundabout ways. I'll read the second sentence. To wander, driven off course, after sacking Troy's hallowed keep. Oh, yes, I cannot wait. So this is available right now from Chicago, University of Chicago Press, and I am really excited. This book will go up with my other versions and translations up there. So, got a lot of plans for this summer. Got to make it happen. Okay, so now I'm going to move into, although I think this book, did I not bring that book up with me? Yes, I did. Just hang on one moment. Okay. Okay, all right, here we go. This one I think is out this month, and I got a finished copy of it. I like the author. I don't say I love, but I have read his other work. His book on the Battle of Marathon, I have it. I can't find it right now, but it's either downstairs in the parlor. I looked in the living room, couldn't find it, but it's James Lacey. And I really, like I said, I enjoy his work on, it was called The First Clash, the miraculous Greek victory at Marathon and its impact on Western civilization. Well, James Lacey has a new book that seems really intriguing, or the provocative type of argument. And this one is out this month. Sorry for the glare. It's The Year God Died. Jesus and the Roman Empire in 33 AD. And this is by Bantam Books. Came out from Bantam Books. So let me tell you about this interesting argument he's making. In late 31 AD, after the Roman senators murdered Lucius Aelius Sejanus, the Roman Emperor Tiberius's closest confidant, the empire was forever changed. For if Sejanus had not been murdered, Jesus would never have been crucified. Okay, I'll get back to that. This profound connection between the lives of Sejanus and Jesus is the first of many revelations in this startling examination of the Roman world in which Jesus walked. With new evidence and meticulous research, Dr. James Lacey weaves a majestic and accurate description of who Jesus was. The Year God Died contradicts long-standing historical beliefs to reveal the most comprehensive and accurate view of the New Testament. That's quite the claim. That's a pretty bold claim. Gird your loins there. Lacey explains how events in Rome drove events in Judea, which are directly linked to Jesus' crucifixion. Okay? He uncovers a vibrant and rich world, but one still coming to grips with the reality of Roman power. He introduces 10-year-old Boadicea, who is destined to lead Britain's tribes in a great revolt against Rome. Doesn't he mean Boudica? What's a Boadicea? Anyway, he depicts Varus marching his legions to war in Jerusalem past a 2-year-old Jesus. Interesting. And he describes how Herod prospered by appeasing some of the most dangerous people in history: Pompey, Julius Caesar, Mark Antony, Cleopatra, and Augustus. So in this sweeping chronicle, Lacey dissects reams of misinformation to reveal, for the first time, Jesus as he was born and lived within the grand spectacle of the Roman world. Now, just for that alone, I had to read this. I was like, okay, well, let's see about this. But it sounds wonderful. I would counter as a Christian that it doesn't matter if Sejanus was murdered. Oh, here's the thing. God is in control of all of this, is what I'm saying. If you're a Christian, you know what I'm talking about. So it was all supposed to work out the way it worked out. That's all. That's where I'm coming from. But I can't wait. This is going to be a fun read from Bantam Books and James Lacey, an author, historian I really enjoy. And for you American Revolution fans, this book, I believe, came out, or is coming out. This is a June book. So, maybe I'll save that one for later. I'll show it to you. This is by the I think he's very prolific. He's written about just about every major guy in the American Revolution and the Founding Fathers. I'm talking about Willard Stern Randall. Well, he has a new book coming out. Little short type of, it's about 240-page biography of John Hancock. First to sign, first to invest in America's independence. This is by Dutton. Comes from Dutton Publishing. Let's see here. Okay, I'll just read from the jacket cover real quick. All right, a contemporary of Samuel Adams, John Adams, George Washington, and the Marquis de Lafayette, Hancock had a list of contacts that read like a who's who of the American Revolution. But shockingly little has been written about Hancock himself. John Hancock tells the story of a man who deserves far more credit for his contribution to the American Revolution than he previously received. An award-winning scholar, Willard Stern Randall, has given him his due at last. Let me skip ahead here. So John Hancock details all of the major moments in the Revolution, from the Boston Tea Party to the battles of Lexington and Concord to the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Hancock's actions fundamentally altered each of these events and ultimately the course of the U.S. in ways never taught in the history books. Randall also dives into lesser-known parts of Hancock's life with nuance and compassion, including his education and controversial work with Harvard, his long courtship and complicated marriage to Dorothy Quincy, and his close relationship and eventual bitter rivalry with Samuel Adams. So it says here, John Hancock enjoyed great popularity in Massachusetts during the Revolution, but he left behind few personal writings, making it hard to tell his story. So through extensive research, Randall restores Hancock to his rightful place, celebrated for his achievements as one of our founding fathers at last. So interesting. I didn't know that he didn't have a lot of personal writings. But Willard Stern Randall is on the case. Yeah, he's got another book that I've been looking at getting on HamiltonBook.com, my favorite bargain site. The Founders' Fortunes. I think that one looks really interesting. But and there's our author, and there's that book I'm talking about, Founders' Fortunes. But that's Willard Stern Randall. This is his new. I have several of his books. Let me look at his list of titles here. Oh my gosh, yeah, he's got Ethan Allen, Alexander Hamilton, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benedict Arnold, and then some others that are like more, a broader history. Yeah, okay. I think I've got Ethan Allen, Alexander Hamilton, and I think I have Thomas Jefferson as well. So, John Hancock. I think that, and this one is coming out June 10th, so this one's not out quite yet, but I did get a finished copy, so excited for this one as well. All right, now we're moving into books that have not been published yet. I take that back. There's one that I don't have a finished copy of it, but I do want to read it. I'm going to dip in and see if if it catches my fancy. Sometimes I read some nonfiction that's a little bit, it's not history so much as sometimes it's on, philosophy or economics, and this is one of them. This book came out on May 6th, but this is my advanced copy. This is Empty Vessel, The Story of the Global Economy in One Barge by Ian Kumakawa. And this is put out by Knopf, Alfred Knopf Publishing. It seems interesting. What do a barracks for British troops in the Falklands War, a floating jail off the Bronx, and temporary housing for VW factory workers in Germany have in common? The Balder Scapa, a single barge that served all three roles. Interesting. The name would eventually change to Finnboda 12, and then to Safe Asperia, and later on to the Bibby Resolution, and after that, ... In short, a vessel with so many names and so many fates that to keep it in our sights as the protagonist of this fascinating economic parable, Ian Kumakawa has no choice but to call it simply the vessel. Fascinating. Despite its sturdy steel structure, weighing 9,500 deadweight tons, the vessel is a figure as elusive and abstract as the offshore market it comes to embody. A world of island tax havens, exploited labor forces, free banking zones, Thatcherism, Reaganomics, and mass incarceration, where even the prisoners are held offshore. Fitted with modular shipping containers, themselves the product of standardized global trade, the ship could become whatever the market demanded. Whether caught in an international dispute involving Hong Kong, Nigeria, Indonesia, and the Virgin Islands, to be settled in an English court of law, or flying yet another foreign flag of convenience to mask its ownership, the barge is ever a container for forces much larger than even its hulking self.
Tornado.
And we have a tornado warning. So, all right, we're going to keep an eye on that. Martine just popped her head in. Okay, if I have to hop off, it means we're taking shelter. Story of the Global Economy in One Barge by Ian Kumakawa, out now, and I do plan on getting to this. I don't know how much of it I'll read, but I'm going to dip in. Okay, 2 other books, and this is not the full extent. I have a book of a working pile of books I'm reviewing for other for publications in my bedroom, because I have my little it's my comfortable floor chair. It's kind of like, I kind of get into it in the corner by the window, and I have the breeze blowing on my face while I'm reading. It's a very comfortable reading spot in the bedroom. But I have a lot of books that are still coming out that but I'm currently, like, they're in my to be read pile, to be written. I've got to write reviews for those. I'll try to circle those back in on my next video to show you what else is coming, but this one's coming out June 3rd, and I'm sure you've seen it on other channels, but I'm also very excited to look at this when I'm in the mood for a Western. That's the other thing this weekend. We kind of got into a Western thing on Sunday. It was storming and rainy, and we had Pale Rider on, so we were watching some Clint Eastwood Westerns. It was kind of cool. But this is The Gunfighters, How Texas Made the West Wild by Brian Burrow. From Penguin Press, I should say. The Wild West gunfighter is such a stock figure in our popular culture that some dismiss it all as a corny myth, more product of dime novels and B-movies than a genuinely important American history. In fact, as Brian Burrow shows us in his dazzling and fast-paced new book, there's much more below the surface. For 3 decades at the end of the 1800s, a big swath of the American West was a crucible of change with the highest murder rate per capita in American history. The reasons behind this boil down to one word: Texas. Texas was born in violence on 2 fronts, with Mexico to the south and the Comanche to the north. The Colt revolver first caught on with the Texas Rangers. Southern dueling culture transformed into something wilder and less organized in the Lone Star State. The collapse of the Confederacy and the presence of a thin veneer of northern occupiers turned the heat up further. And the explosion in the cattle business after the war took that violence and pumped it out from Texas across the whole of the West. The stampede of longhorn cattle brought with it an assortment of rustlers, hustlers, gamblers, and freelance lawmen who carried a trigger-happy honor culture into a widening gear, a veritable blood meridian. Nice call out to Cormac. When the first newspapermen and audiences discovered what good copy this all was, the flywheel of myth-making started spinning, and it's never stopped. So, The Gunfighters sifts the lies from the truth, giving both elements their due. And it looks really good. We're going to be looking at Butch Cassidy, the Sundance Kid, other legendary figures, the Gunfighters, baby. It's coming out June 3rd. Let me see what other... let's see. Kansas, 18... Oh, yeah. Wyatt Earp and Ben Thompson, Dodge City, Bat Masterson, John Wesley Hardin. Oh, this is going to be good. Billy the Kid, obviously. The Range Wars. And then, of course, it ends with Butch Cassidy in the Gloaming. So this is going to be fantastic. Ooh, I hope I can get a finished copy of this one to add to my American Old West history section, which is what I cut my teeth on growing up. I was a huge Western fan, and that's what really got me into everything else, including the Civil War. But it all started with my interest in the Wild West. So, The Gunfighters, Brian Burrow from Penguin Press. It's out June 3rd. All right, I'm going to show you this for a little bit now. This is coming out June 10th. A nice big thick World War II history. There's so much World War II history coming out in addition to the books I already have, but I like looking at it. I like seeing what's new, what they're saying. And this is Allies at War, How the Struggles Between the Allied Powers Shaped the War and the World by Tim Bouverie. I should put that up there so you can see it. It's a big book, as you can see. This is from Crown Publishing. And this is the ARC, but it's pretty big. It's over 600 pages, but that includes bibliography and notes. So about 530 pages of reading. But let's see here. What do we have? Okay. Oh, this is Tim Bouverie's second book. His first one was Appeasement. Yes, I thought he sounded familiar. So, for his second book, Allies at War, Tim Bouverie, author of New York Times editor's pick Appeasement, offers a new view into the high-stakes politics and international dynamics that shaped the relationship between the Allied powers during the Second World War. Based on material drawn from over 100 archives in the U.S. and Britain, including previously unpublished diaries and letters. There always seems to be a surfeit of unpublished diaries and letters. Haven't we published everything yet on the Second World War? Reveals an alliance that was sophisticated, collegiate, and conquering, but also fractious, duplicitous, and rivalrous. After examining the doomed Anglo-French alliance of 1939 to 1940, Bouverie describes Winston Churchill's desperate attempts to gain allies, in particular the United States and the Soviet Union, while doing everything he could to prevent neutral nations from falling under the shadow of the swastika. By 1942, the Grand Alliance was in place, yet it was an improbable and incongruous coalition divided by ideology and politics and riven with mistrust and deceit. Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin were partners in the fight to defeat Hitler, yet they were also rivals who disagreed on strategy, imperialism, and the future of liberated Europe. So most of us, know that from reading endless books on it, but only by looking at their points of conflict as well as of cooperation are we able to understand the course of the war and world that developed in its aftermath. Let's see here. It also shines a light on the enduring complexities of geopolitical relations, offering lessons from the greatest diplomatic successes and failures of the recent past that should be heeded as we enter a new era of international instability, unfortunately. So let's see if we have some lessons that, will anyone learn them in this country? Russia didn't learn it. The Soviet Union, Russia. They might as well be the Soviet Union right now. They're everything except in name, pretty much. I don't know. Okay, so from Crown, June 10th. Been a nice big meaty book, Allies at War. All right, so this book I'm hoping to get to. We're moving into some July releases now. My plan is to try to squeeze this one in. I usually have my reviews slotted out, my review work slotted out a month prior, and I have my whiteboard over there on the wall, and I have all the books I'm working on. I'm going to be reviewing the new book that's coming out about Amelia Earhart and her marriage with George Putnam, which is another big read. But this is another one I want to squeeze in. They're both coming out on July 15th. That's the problem. See, when I write for Shelf Awareness, I have to turn in my reviews a month before the publication date, or thereabouts, plus or minus. So I've got two big books I want to review for them. I'm reviewing a short one for them right now that's due on the 1st, about the penitentiary of New Mexico, that famous riot that happened in, I believe, 1980. in New Mexico. I've always been fascinated by that. I'll get to that in another video, but this is another one I want to kind of review. It does sound a little salacious and gossipy, so I don't know. But in case you don't know, from St. Martin's Press on July 15th, we have JFK, Public, Private, Secret, by J. Randy Taraborelli. And he's the author of Jackie, Private, Public, Secret. Okay, I see. I didn't realize that. I didn't even know he wrote another. See, I wasn't even aware of the Jackie book. So I guess it makes sense that now he's doing JFK. But I have dipped into this a little, and I was like, oh my gosh. It kind of reminded me a little bit of, what was that book? It was really kind of The Dark Side of Camelot. That was it. Kind of gave me a little bit of some shades of that. But let me read to you what this one's bringing to the table. In this deeply researched presidential biography, J. Randy Taraborelli tells John F. Kennedy's story in a provocative new way by revealing how public moments in his life were influenced by private relationships with not only his family but also Jackie's. But it's the secret life that surprises. I'm emphasizing each of these words: private, public, secret. Okay. As congressman, senator, and president, JFK was a magnet for women. Okay, that's not surprising. JFK reveals the man's many affairs and the strength and resolve of his wife showed in coping with them. Oh, God. Holy crap. JFK's women include, and then they give some bulleted list of, let me just read a few of these. Jackie and her rules for Jack's infidelity. Quote, show me some respect and don't rub it in my face, end quote. Then there's Inga Arvad, JFK's first love and how it ended over fears she was a Nazi spy. Marilyn Monroe, why Jackie insisted JFK end it with her. Quote, this one's different, Jack. This one's trouble, end quote. Finally, the truth, and they underlined the truth of JFK's relationship with Marilyn exclusively from her closest friend, and it wasn't what people believed. And then there's Joan Hitchcock, the mysterious brunette who comforted Jack after Jackie threatened to file for divorce. And then you got the other stories which are not based around his affairs. How JFK's grief over his infant son caused him to make rash decisions that pulled the U.S. into Vietnam. The real truth about the mafia's involvement in JFK's election. The startling drug abuse that clouded the president's decisions during the Bay of Pigs, and how Jackie managed to wean him from those drugs in time for the Cuban Missile Crisis. Thank you, Jackie. She might have averted nuclear war, not him. The Kennedys' secret plans to renew their wedding vows, made just before JFK's assassination. Would that have stopped him from cheating? Probably not. The JFK presented in Taraborelli's definitive biography is a complex and endlessly fascinating historical figure, despite and maybe even because of his many flaws. Well, we'll see. So it's a big book. So St. Martin's Press. Like I said, I want to review it. I just need to I have to get started on a lot of these books like next week, like early. So it's about 500 pages. So I'm going to review this, but the Amelia Earhart book that I showed in my last video, my last new history video, that's the one I'm definitely doing because I love Amelia Earhart. But I figured you guys would be really stoked about this, or some of you would be if you're, fans of JFK and just read all things about JFK. All right, and then we move into this one. It's another World War II history. It's coming from Scribner, July 8th. And I definitely wanted to get my greedy little hands on this one. This is the Hiroshima Men, the quest to build the atomic bomb and the fateful decision to use it by Ian McGregor. By Scribner. This is my advanced copy here. So, I mean, I'll skip the part about, we all know on August 6, 1945 at 8:15 a.m., the Japanese port city of Hiroshima was bombed the world's first atomic bomb. So the Hiroshima men's unique narrative recounts the decade-long journey towards this first atomic attack. It charts the race for nuclear technology before and during the Second World War, as the Allies fought the Axis powers in Europe, North Africa, China, and across the vastness of the Pacific, and is seen through the experiences of several key characters. General Leslie Groves, leader of the Manhattan Project, alongside Robert Oppenheimer, pioneering Army Air Force bomber pilot Colonel Paul Tibbets II, the mayor of Hiroshima, Senkichi Awaya, who would die alongside over 80,000 of his fellow citizens, and Pulitzer Prize-winning novelist John Hersey, who traveled to post-war Japan to expose the devastation the bomb had inflicted upon the city, and in a historic New Yorker article described in unflinching detail the dangers posed by its deadly after effect, radiation poisoning. This thrilling account takes the reader from the corridors of power in the White House and the Pentagon to the test sites of New Mexico. From the air war above Germany to the Potsdam Conference of Truman, Churchill, and Stalin, to the savage reconquest of the Pacific, to the deadly firebombing air raids across the Japanese islands. The Hiroshima Men also includes Japanese perspectives, which is pretty critical, a vital aspect often missing from Western narratives, to complete McGregor's nuanced, deeply human account of the bombing's meaning and aftermath. Oh yeah, I've got another book by him, The Lighthouse of Stalingrad. He wrote that too. He also wrote Checkpoint Charlie, his acclaimed history of Cold War Berlin. So, fantastic. The Hiroshima Men, July 8th from Scribner. Add that to your list. All right, another World War II history, lots of it coming out. This is also from Dutton Books. This is The Boys in the Lights, an extraordinary World War II story of survival, faith, and brotherhood by Nina Wilner. This is coming out July 22nd. July 22nd. So what is this one about? Okay, The Boys in the Light follows the parallel journeys of Company D and Eddie Wilner, the author's father, as they experience two sides of World War II. This is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the strength of the bonds forged during war. A must-read for fans of Unbroken, Lauren Hillebrand, as many of you know, and Eric Larson's The Splendid and the Vile. At 16, Eddie Wilner was among the millions of European Jews rounded up by Hitler's Nazis. He was forced into slave labor alongside his father and his best friend Mike, and spent the next 3 years of his life surviving the death camps, including Auschwitz. Meanwhile, in the United States, boys only a few years older than Eddie were joining the army and heading toward their own precarious futures. Once farmers, factory workers, and coal miners, they were suddenly army officers and infantrymen, thrust into the brutal conflicts of World War II. A company of 3rd Armored Division tankers led by Elmer Hovland quickly became battle-hardened and weary, constantly questioning whether the war was worth it. 8 months in, they got their answer when 2 emaciated boys stepped out of the woods with their tattooed arms raised, Eddie and Mike. Elmer and his soldiers could barely believe their eyes as they finally came face to face with the human cost of Hitler's evil. What Elmer did next would change everyone's lives. Well, heck yeah. Oh yeah. I'm reading this one. That's just completely right up my alley of interest to me. I am so interested in this survivor stories of the Holocaust, as well as just World War II history and liberation of the camps. And this is something I'm going to just eat up. But add this to your list, guys. It sounds like it's going to be a winner. And it's, written by the author's daughter. Written by it's written by the subject's daughter. Say, wow. Nina Wilner. She is the author of 40 Autumns. Oh, prior to her writing career, Nina was a U.S. Army intelligence officer who served in Berlin during the Cold War. Oh, this is fantastic. Okay, all over this one. The Boys in the Light, Nina Wilner, July 22nd from Dutton Books. Definitely. Definitely. I'll see if I can shop that around to someone and write a review for it somewhere. I haven't been assigned it, but I think I might have an idea where I can pitch it. And then finally, we have a very interesting title here. This is from coming from Alfred Knopf Publishers. It's coming out July 29th. And it's called The Trembling Hand, Reflections of a Black Woman in the Romantic Archive by Mathalinda Nabugodi. The Trembling Hand, July 29th. All right, let's take a look at this one here. A scrap of Coleridge's Coleridge, or how do you guys, is it Coleridge or Coleridge? Samuel Coleridge, Samuel Coleridge. A scrap of Coleridge's handwriting, the sugar that Wordsworth stirred into his teacup, a bracelet made of Mary Shelley's hair, Percy Shelley's gilded baby rattle, the death mask preserving Keats's calm face, Byron's silk-lined leather boot. Who would have known there could be vast worlds contained in these items? In a completely new interpretation of the Romantics and their context, Whiting award-winning scholar and literary sleuth, Mathalinda Nabugodi uses these items to frame her interrogation of the poets, leading us on an expansive journey through time and memory, situating us in the depth of their world and her own. Quote, freedom, liberty, autonomy are the period's favorite words, end quote, Nabugodi writes. Romantic poets sought truth in their souls and in the mind's unbounded regions. Ideals of free speech and human rights were being forged. And yet the period was defined by a relentless commitment to the displacement and stolen labor of millions. Romanticism, she argues, can no longer be discussed without the racial violence with which it was complicit. Still, rather than using this idea to rehash black pain and subjugation, she mines the archives for instances of resistance, beauty, and joy. Nabugodi moves effortlessly between the past and the present. She takes us into the physical archives and, with startling clarity, unpacks her relationships with them. What they are and should be. Who built them. How they are entwined with an industry that was the antithesis of freedom. And how she feels handling the materials needed to write this book as a person whose humanity is often questioned by their dehumanizing logic. Okay, logics. The Trembling Hand presents a dazzling new way of reading the past. This transfixing, evocative book reframes not only the lives of the legendary Romantics, but also their poetry and the very era in which they lived. It is a reckoning with art, archives, and academia, bound to echo through the conversation for a long time to come. Nabugodi is a lecturer in comparative literature at the University College London, and she is the author of Shelley with Benjamin, a critical mosaic, and one of the editors of the 6-volume Longman edition of the Poems of Shelley. Okay, I don't quite have a grasp of what this is. I mean, we both read this together. I don't really understand what the point or the premise is here completely. But I'm going to look at it and get into it a little bit and see what it is she's trying to say. But she uses as her launching place several different items, like I just read off. But see that? So your guess is as good as mine. But we've got The Trembling Hand coming to you from Mathalinda Nabugodi, July 29th from Knopf Publishing. And that, my friends, look at that. I am under 50 minutes this time. I know, you're feeling shortchanged, right? You're feeling shortchanged of those last 6 minutes. Oh, never fear, my friends. There's always more to come. That's a history shelf. So let me know out of these books which ones are really light up your eyes and what you might be adding to your TBR. And until next time, everybody, I hope you're doing well out there. I got to go take shelter from the tornado. So we'll see you back here at the History Shelf real soon. Take care.